didn't believe in haunted houses until the week my mother died and left me hers. The letter arrived on a Tuesday, the envelope thick and official, my name typed with a precision that felt cold. I remember standing in my kitchen in Portland, the rain ticking against the window, my coffee untouched. I remember thinking that death should announce itself louder than paper sliding from an envelope. It should knock, it should scream. Instead, it whispered. The house was in upstate New York, a town called Briar Hollow. I hadn't heard that name in 20 years. The last time I had, my mother slammed the door so hard the frame cracked and told me never to say it again. I said it out loud anyway. Briar Hollow. The word felt wrong in my mouth, like I'd bitten down on tin foil. I booked a flight that night. I told myself it was practical. The house needed to be sold. My mother had no spouse, no other children. There were no ghosts waiting for me, just paperwork, dust, and a past I could finally sort into labeled boxes. That's what I told myself. The drive from Albany took 3 hours. The road narrowed, trees leaning closer the farther north I went, their branches knitting together overhead. My phone lost signal just after sunset. The GPS froze, the blue dot blinking once before vanishing, and for a moment I had the absurd thought that even the satellites didn't want to follow me here. Briar Hollow announced itself with a rusted sign half swallowed by ivy. Welcome to Briar Hollow, it read, though the W had fallen, leaving ELCO. Below it, in smaller letters, settled 1891. The town was smaller than I remembered, or maybe I was bigger. A single main street, most of the storefronts dark. A diner with one light on. A gas station closed early. The air smelled like wet leaves and iron. I passed one car. It slowed as I did, our headlights washing over each other. The driver's face was pale and expressionless. He didn't look away. Neither did I. The house sat at the edge of town, just past where the street gave up, pretending to be paved. It rose out of the fog like a thing waking up, 3 stories, narrow and tall, its dark siding streaked with age. The porch sagged in the middle. One upstairs window glowed faintly, though I was certain the power had been off for months. I cut the engine and listened. The silence wasn't empty. It pressed in, heavy and expectant, like the moment before a storm breaks. Somewhere far off, a bell rang once. Then again. Church bells, maybe, or something else. I told myself it was late, that small towns kept strange hours, that the light was a trick of reflection. When I stepped onto the porch, the boards groaned under my weight. The sound traveled through the house, echoing back to me in a way that made my skin prickle. I fumbled for the key my mother's lawyer had mailed me, my fingers stiff despite the mild air. The door opened on the first try. Inside, the house smelled exactly the way I remembered. Old wood, dust, and something sharp beneath it, like metal or rot. The entryway was narrow, the ceiling low. A staircase climbed straight up, its banister worn smooth by decades of hands. I closed the door behind me and locked it, the click loud in the quiet. The moment it shut, the air changed. It thickened, settling on my shoulders. I took a breath and tasted copper. Hello? My voice sounded small. Nothing answered. I flicked on my flashlight and swept the beam across the walls. The wallpaper was peeling, the floral pattern faded to ghosts of color. Family photos still hung in crooked lines. My mother at 20, smiling too wide. My father, God, I hadn't expected to see him, standing stiffly beside her, his eyes shadowed. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step an argument between caution and momentum. At the top, the hallway stretched longer than it should have, doors lining either side. The light I'd seen from outside came from the last door on the right, my old bedroom. I stood there for a long time before pushing it open. The room was untouched. The bedspread I'd chosen at 14 still lay neatly tucked. My desk held my childhood trophies, the gold paint dulled but intact. The window glowed with moonlight, not electricity. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. That's when I heard it. A sound from downstairs, soft, rhythmic, footsteps. I froze, the flashlight beam trembling in my grip. The steps were slow, deliberate, moving from the kitchen toward the stairs. Whoever it was wasn't trying to be quiet. I'm not armed, I said, which was stupid and too late to take back. This is my house. The footsteps stopped. Then from directly below me, a voice answered. Is it? The voice was a woman's. Familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. Older, tired, my mother's voice. No, I whispered. No, that's not. The stairs creaked as someone began to climb. I backed into the bedroom, my heel catching on the edge of the rug. My heart slammed against my ribs. I wanted to scream, to run, to do anything but stand there listening as the steps came closer. The figure that emerged at the top of the stairs wasn't my mother. It was a woman about my age, her hair dark and pulled back, her eyes too bright in the low light. She wore a sheriff's jacket, the badge catching my flashlight beam. Jesus, she said, raising her hands. Easy, you must be a leaner. I nodded numbly. Who are you? Deputy Claire Monroe. She gestured behind her. I saw your car pull up. Thought I'd make sure you got inside okay. You were in my house. She hesitated just for a second. Front door was open. No, it was. She studied my face, then glanced down the hallway, her expression tightening. Right, well, welcome back. I didn't like the way she said back. She stayed just long enough to give me her card and a warning about the power being unreliable. As she left, she paused on the porch and looked back at the house with something like regret. You hear anything strange, she said carefully. You call me, not 911, me? After she drove away, I checked the front door. The lock was still turned. I didn't sleep much that night. The house sighed and shifted around me, settling into its old bones. At exactly 3:17 a.m., the bell rang again, closer this time, vibrating through the walls. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to something heavy move beneath the floorboards. Morning came gray and thin. I found the source of the bell in the backyard, an old iron wind chime hanging from a dead oak. There was no wind. Inside, I began going through my mother's things. In the study, beneath stacks of yellowed papers, I found a journal. The first page was dated 3 months before her death. If Alina ever comes back, it read in my mother's looping script, I pray she understands why I did what I did. The last entry ended mid-sentence, the ink smeared as if the pen had slipped. That night, as I turned off the lights, I heard my name whispered from the walls, not once, but over and over. I tried to leave the next morning. That matters. I want it to matter. I packed my bag with shaking hands, stuffing clothes without folding them, my eyes flicking to the door every few seconds. I told myself I didn't need answers. I didn't need journals or explanations or closure. I needed distance, gas stations, cell signal, a normal diner with chipped mugs and loud conversations. The house didn't agree. When I turned the key in my car, the engine clicked once and died. Again, nothing. The dashboard lights flickered, then went dark. I sat there gripping the wheel, my breath fogging the windshield, a sick certainty blooming in my chest. Behind me, the front door of the house creaked open. I didn't look. I knew better by then. Whatever this place wanted, it fed on attention, on fear, on acknowledgement. I'm leaving, I said to the empty car. You don't get to stop me. Something tapped on the glass, one slow knock, then another. I forced myself to turn. My mother stood at the end of the driveway, not the version from the night before. Not the too young photograph on the wall. This was her as she'd been at the end, thin hair gone gray at the temples, cardigan hanging loose on her shoulders. Her face was soft with something like relief. Ellie, she said, my throat closed, you're dead. Yes, she said gently, but not gone. I laughed, a sharp, broken sound. That's not how it works. In Briar Hollow, she replied, it is. I slammed the car door open and got out, anger burning hotter than fear. You don't get to do this. You don't get to haunt me because you never explained anything. Her expression faltered. For the first time, she looked afraid. I tried to protect you. From what? She looked past me toward the trees lining the road. The fog had thickened, curling between the trunks like fingers. From the house, she said, from what lives under it. The ground shifted beneath my feet. Not an earthquake, something more deliberate. A pressure, like a breath drawn deep below the soil. I backed away until my spine hit the car. You're lying. I lied once, she said. When I told you we were leaving for good, I thought distance would break the bond. Bond, she nodded. The women in our family are anchors. The house chooses us. It needs someone to remember it, to listen. No, I said, that's insane. She stepped closer, and I noticed then that her feet didn't quite touch the gravel. Your grandmother tried to burn it down. Your great-grandmother tried to bury it. It always survives, and it always takes something in return. My mind reeled, fragments snapping into place, the warnings, the journal, the way the house seemed to breathe around me. What did it take from you? Her eyes filled. Time, peace, and in the end, me? The bell rang again, deafeningly close. The oak tree in the backyard shuddered, its dead branches scraping together though there was still no wind. The ground split open near the porch, just a hairline crack, dark and deep. That's why you died, I whispered. You let it kill you. I chose it, she said, so it wouldn't choose you. The crack widened, something moved inside it. I ran. I didn't know where I was going, just away from the house, from the voice that sounded like my mother but couldn't be. I made it to the edge of the trees before the ground buckled. Roots erupted upward, wrapping around my ankles, dragging me back. I screamed, clawing at the dirt. Hands too many, all wrong, gripped my wrists, my waist, pulling me toward the opening beneath the porch. No, I sobbed. Please. Ellie, my mother said, suddenly right beside me. She grabbed my face, forcing me to look at her. Listen to me, it can't take you unless you accept it. What does that mean? You have to choose, she said. Stay and bind yourself to it, or leave and let it tear itself apart. The ground roared, a sound like 1,000 voices screaming through stone. The house shuddered, windows rattling, walls groaning in protest. If it dies, I said, won't you? She smiled, and this time it was real. I already am. The roots tightened, pain flaring up my legs. I felt something tug at my chest, like fingers hooking into my ribs, searching. I thought of my life in Portland, my small apartment, my friends who knew me only as a leaner, not Ellie, the freedom of anonymity, the loneliness I pretended not to feel. And I thought of this place, of generations of women swallowed quietly, their names etched into rot and memory. I don't accept you, I said, forcing the words out through clenched teeth. You don't own me. The thing beneath the house screamed. It was not a sound meant for human ears. The pressure vanished all at once, sending me sprawling backward. The roots released me, recoiling into the ground like wounded animals. The crack split wide open, then collapsed. The house sagged inward as if its bones had finally given up. The porch caved, the roof buckled, windows shattered, the sound sharp and final. In seconds, the place that had stood for over a century folded into itself, swallowed by the earth in a plume of dust and fog. When the noise faded, there was nothing left but a shallow depression and scattered debris. And my mother was gone. I lay there for a long time, staring at the gray sky, my body shaking with delayed shock. Eventually, I stood, my legs held. The fog thinned, the trees stilled. My car started on the first try. Deputy Monroe was waiting at the edge of town, her cruiser pulled sideways across the road. She got out when she saw me, her face pale. "It's over," she said quietly. "You knew," I accused. She nodded. "My family's been watching that place for decades, making sure it didn't spread. When your mother called me 3 months ago, I hoped she was wrong." "What happens now?" I asked. She looked back toward where the house had been. "Now it's just land for the first time." I left Briar Hollow before sunset. The sign was gone when I passed it, only two rusted posts standing where it had been. Back home, life resumed with jarring normalcy. Emails, coffee, rain, I told no one what happened. Some stories don't survive daylight, but sometimes, late at night, I feel a presence. Not heavy, not demanding, just watching, waiting. And when the wind moves just right, I hear a bell, not calling me back. Just reminding me that I was chosen once, and that I said no.